Paul. Some people like him, some people think that he was a little judgmental, but Paul was just Paul. The Apostle Paul, not Paul back here. Paul the Apostle, the one who gave the speech in Athens, which is in Greece, not Athens. I think there's an Athens, Kentucky, isn't there? Athens, Georgia?
And Ohio.
And Ohio. So the people of Athens and all the foreigners that were living there, they would spend their time in nothing but telling or hearing something new. They were always chasing a new idea, a new thought. The speech given by Paul in Athens was made at the I knew I wasn't going to be able to say this. I practiced this 10 times. That place that Rachel said great,
What was it?
Areopagus, which means a big piece of rock. He was on a big piece of rock. And Paul is the one who was invited to speak there. And last week at the stoning of Stephen, Paul, who was originally called Saul, was there, and he was the one who held the cloaks of the people that were going to stone poor little Stephen to death. And now we're over into, I think, the 17th chapter of Acts, and now we see that Saul has turned into Paul the Apostle, who felt a passion to go and preach to the Gentiles, which are the non-Jewish people. So Paul, he's really brilliant in his speech to the Athenians because he tells them, I see that in every way you are very religious. So he appeals to their quest to discover new gods. He tells them as he walked around looking at all the different gods that they had and objects of worship, he found an altar with this inscription. It said, to an unknown God. So I guess the Athenians wanted to make sure they had all their bases covered. So they built an altar for the one true God and the unknown God. Now, Paul, he speaks to the crowd on something that is held in common for all of them. He talks about God being the creator of all that is. He doesn't go through and start pulling out scripture, telling them that from the Old Testament all the way through to Jesus and the resurrection. He talks to them about how God is the creator of all things. The natural world is one in which they lived in, we live in, and it held something in common with Paul and the people he was preaching to. And he talked about the nature of this unknown God, who we call Yahweh God. He said that this God was holy, separate, not served by human hands, that this God was the life giver. I love that expression, life giver. And Paul also told him that God calls us into relationship with God and with one another. Which is, we're hardwired to kind of want to search for God or something sacred and holy. I guess that's why, atheists deny the spiritual side of themselves. I've heard people say I go and worship God out in nature, and I get that. I mean, anybody ever been to the Grand Canyon or looked at a beautiful mountain at the ocean or someplace that really speaks to you in nature, and you just feel the presence of God there? So, since the people in Athens always were searching for the latest thing, he wanted to tell them that we were kind of the people that search for something sacred. Searchers. Aren't we all kind of searchers in some way? Now, sadly, not everyone searches for God. There are those who search for God or search for some meaning in their life, those who search for joy or health or happiness. Some look for family and belonging to a family. Some just want peace and solitude. Some people search for fame. Everybody goes to Los Angeles to get discovered. And some people want nothing more than just to live a quiet life. There's people who want to search to be rich and wealthy, people who are ready just to simply let go of their possessions and live simply. Most of us at some time or another have had a feeling that something is missing in our life. Anybody can relate to that something is missing in your life, especially before you get to know God, really. I know that before I came out as a lesbian, I knew that was missing in my life. And I also knew that as a young woman that there was something spiritual that was missing in my life. Even though I've been raised a Methodist and I had to go to church every Sunday. Had to go to church, that sounds terrible. How many parents here, how many people here had parents that made them go to church or Sunday school? There's some validity to that, I think. You know, then the child, when they get older, they can decide what they want to do. We want to give them some kind of a foundation, I think. How many parents here are making their kids go to church? Really, parents. So most of us, at some time or another, go searching. Many of us kind of search for what is new, the newest gadget, the latest gadget, the novelty of something, and then it wears off, and then we go back and search for something else. People that are shopaholics, anybody shopaholic in here? Come on. Is it shopaholics? Okay.
Are we confessing?
We're all made, though, with a God-shaped hole in our hearts. And too often we try to fill it with God's substitutes, which don't satisfy us. And indeed, these substitutes only make us hungrier for God that we're searching for. But everybody, at some time or another, is looking. Some of us are looking for partners, or sacks of money, or wealth, or better good looks. Or everybody's searching. And we all have an instinct for the divine. As Paul tells the people from Athens, we are God's offspring, we're God's children. The Athenians were looking for something, and they were a pagan society, and they had erected structures to every god represented in their society. And they had numerous gods. Anybody remember Greek mythology in school? All the gods we had to memorize. And just to be on the safe side, they built an altar to an unknown god. Now, searching really isn't a bad thing. It implies that we care about a deeper meaning to our lives. And aren't some quests a little bit more noble than others? Sometimes we have shallow goals that typically produce shallow results. Fame and possessions, for example, don't usually yield a deep satisfaction within us. We buy the latest iPhone or cell phone or whatever, and we think it's going to make us happy, and a month later they come out with a newer model or a better model, and then we want that one, and it just goes on and on. Same thing with TVs. How many people have big TVs, little TVs, TVs in every room? We like the big ones, and then they came out with the curved ones. I think the curved ones, and now there's something new. I think I don't keep up with all that. HD, there's HD, and there's some. I thought I saw something else at Costco the other day.
Okay, super hockey.
A super. Same thing with cars. I mean, the cars nowadays, they tell you if you veer out of your lane, they tell you if somebody's coming up. They're really nice. You know, we Americans are pretty good at searching for different things that will fill the emptiness in our hearts. And ads even speak to that need for something. But they generally offer solutions that aren't particularly meaningful. False idols, I call them. It's an easier road to be on, but it isn't often fruitful in the long run. And as we search for God, many of us have names for God. God as King, as Lord, as Father, as Mother, as a shepherd, as a warrior, as a potter, and we are the clay. Just the number of images we have for God points to the fact that they're all metaphors for God. God is not literally any of these things, but God is like a king or a ruler, like a parent, like a warrior, like a shepherd, like a potter, and so forth. Too often we see God as out there, or up there. We used to say heaven's up there, and that God is separate from us, and we have to somehow try to connect with God, to this God that's way far away. But God's relationship to us and to this universe isn't out there. You know, God occasionally intervenes in our lives, more often than not. God intervenes in dramatic events throughout the Bible. And most of the time we experience this feeling that God is not here with us, but out there. And we say God is our parent, our creator, our mother, who is in heaven, we like to say. But the Bible describes God's relationship to the universe and to us as right here, as well as more than right here. This way of imaging our God sees God as the encompassing spirit, a non-material dimension of reality that surrounds us and everything around us. So that God is here with us. I have come to see God as this swirling mass of energy and love and grace, kindness, compassion, wisdom. Paul says so eloquently that God is the one in whom we live and move and have our being. That God is not somewhere else, but all around us. And that we live and move in God. Even the psalm writer, Psalm 139, says, "Where shall I flee from your spirit?" And then he imagines journeying through the ancient three-story universe, ascending up into the heavens above, descending into Sheol or hell, and traveling to the furthest corners of the earth. His refrain about God is constant. You are there, God. You are always there, no matter where I go. And how is that possible? Because there is no place that we can be outside of our God.
Right.
In the language of theology, this way of understanding God is known as panentheism. The Greek roots of the word explain its meaning. Pan meaning everything, en meaning in, theos, God. Everything in God. We are in God. We live and move in God. And God is not someone or something out there, but a presence all around us. God sees God as close at hand, right here, as close to us as our own breath. And it sees the spiritual life that we're on, not as believing in a God who may or may not exist, but as entering into a relationship with a God who is right here with us at all times. Even in the times when we feel God is not there, God is there with us in our pain and our sorrow and our struggles and our quests. So what if we took Paul's wise advice today to look for the God who is not far away, but actually close by, close near to us, sitting in the seat next to you, breathing within you? What if in our inward looking led us to see places in our soul where God has already been at work, stirring in us the desire for meaning in our life? What if we acknowledged each and every day as we rose from the bed that, God, you are within me today. Let all that I say and all that I do be a reflection of that. What if in our outward searching for God would lead us to places where God had already been at work in our world and in those around us? We began to see the hand of God. Oftentimes people will say, like when a tsunami hits or an earthquake or something that's devastating, well, where was God when this happened? God was right there.
Right.
But this is our earth that God gave to us.
Free will.
You know, and we have free will. Things happen. Life happens. Nobody gets out of here without having a couple of hard knocks, I don't think. What if in our searching for God would lead us to recognize more meaning in our life, more happiness, peace, and a sense of belonging to the divine? And that the other things, the false idols that we think we want, we really don't need them at all. In God, we live and move and have our being. And the object of our search is right here with us and within us. Now, sometimes I know with New Age, or I like to say New Thought religion, they'll say we are God. I don't quite believe we are God. I believe that God is within us, that God empowers us to speak, to be. Next month, we celebrate Pride, which is always a wonderful occasion, I think. It's an opportunity for us to share our faith with others. And we don't talk a lot about evangelism. In fact, many of us kind of see it as a negative. Many of us think of evangelism as people that are spouting out Bible verses at a corner of the street
And we're ready to go.
yelling at everybody about this and that. Paul, if you notice, when he began to speak to the people of Athens, he spoke their language. So how do we speak language to people that have been turned off by Christianity? And I can't say that I blame them. Many religions have been harmful to others and still are. Probably continue on until the end of time. So how can we speak to people and not use churchy words? We have to take time to get to know the person we want to invite and not just assume that they're looking or needing church. I don't know about you, but when somebody knocks on my door and they tell me they're from another church and then they try to debate scripture with me, and Lord forbid I tell them I'm a female pastor, some people go nuts over that. In the supermarket one time, nuts. And I said, I'm not arguing with you about this. You know? They said, sister, we're just trying to get you to see the way. Their way, exactly. Their way. So we want to speak in somebody's language and offer to them words that will bring them perhaps comfort, curiosity. It's a great outreach experience for all of us. Some of us, I think, don't like to talk about our faith with others. It's kind of embarrassing. I think we think that people are going to think we're weak or something because we follow our God, the God of all. If you're looking for God today, if God seems far away, look at your brothers and sisters and those around you. God's image is revealed in every face you see here today.
Amen.
And everyone you encounter outside of these doors. When you begin to see people as a reflection of God, that God is within that person, whether they're aware of it or not, it really starts to soften your heart. Like Paul, we too are called to go out into the world and share God's good news with those that we encounter. You don't have to be a Bible thumper. We're called to speak to others in a language that they understand. We're called to talk about God in a language that other people will hear. I think back in the early days with MCC, we always used to go to have a bar blitz night. Anybody remember those nights? We would go to a bar and sit and dance and do different things. That were all legal, and just speak with people. And it really attracted people to come to MCC. That's what I like about MCC, is we don't have to put on airs about who we are. We're certainly not holier than thou. We certainly don't have all the answers, but we're just flawed human beings who are on a spiritual journey in love with a God who loves us. Sometimes if we just put it that way, we're all flawed human beings on a spiritual journey in love with the God who loves us. And maybe, just maybe, this month of June that's coming, we can help heal some of the hurt that's in our community. Will you pray with me, please? Loving and gracious God, we give you thanks today. Let us be bold like Paul. Let us speak in a language that others understand. Help us to see God in ourselves. Help us to see you, O God, and follow in the footsteps of Jesus as he leads us on this path. May we have a passion to reach those who are hurting, those who are seeking. Help us to share your love with all that we come in contact with this week. And in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. God bless you.